Hello, everyone. I am happy that you could come to our monthly webinar speaker series. We are very lucky to have the managing partner of Trembling Giant Marketing here today, Rich Austin. He has been helping small businesses uh, leverage his knowledge, his background to do marketing and to really progress their and project their company ahead. Rich has over 25 years in marketing experience and knowledge, and not just marketing, he's also creative, meaning the websites and logos. And if you've seen our new logo for our 75th anniversary, Trembling Giant, and actually Rich was the one that did that. So we were very thankful for that. So I don't want to lose any more time. Rich, if you'd like to take over, and I know everyone is very excited to learn some lessons about AI.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you guys so much for having me. We love absolutely being a part of the Northwest Chamber and everything you guys do. And these webinar programs are fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about how to leverage AI tools. This really is designed as a presentation for people who are maybe uncomfortable or new to using AI tools like ChatGPT and Bard, or trying to figure out how to use them. They don't exactly come with a sheet of instructions that says this is the best way to do it. And so hopefully after today's meeting or after today's webinar, you're able to walk away with a little bit better understanding of a good way to approach using the platform. So the first thing just to open up is a little bit of background. For the last at least decade, probably a little bit longer, as social media, really blossomed and took off, and more digital solutions are rapidly introduced to the market, and more creative tools are put in the hands of individuals. The world and the marketing world, especially, and the small business world, has just been experiencing a content creation explosion, right? And creator marketing, content marketing is really been a huge factor in almost everybody's business plan for a very long time. And so that's where the AI tool comes in. Because we need to leverage this content so much, it's quite a burden on man hours of individuals, and an AI tool can really help streamline that process. Those benefits that you see from that come in the form of building efficiency in your communications. Uh, a huge value is in overcoming writer's block, or I mean, you can just generally say creator's block. Um, and as well as exploring new styles. So what that looks like in execution is by using the correct prompts and bringing the right questions and the right information to the AI tools, you can help it accomplish tasks that you would be doing in your brain normally, but it would take you a lot longer to do it. As a creative myself, and as having spent years and years and years developing and honing those processes, it is a very efficient tool to help me to overcome some of those challenges. Whereas I might spend an extended amount of time sitting and thinking about what I want to do visually, or from a content perspective. And sometimes I get hung up on, or I'll come up with ideas, and I will certainly employ my ideas, but I feel like there's more ideas and I'm struggling to come up with them. And that's where this is this great sort of sounding board that you can go to and say, I'm trying to solve for this. This is the problem I'm facing. And then it spits out a whole bunch of ideas at you. And when you know what you're talking about, you can look at that content and those ideas that come back to you and say, okay, well, that's crap, but that's good. I didn't think of that one. And you can add that to your list. So using it as a tool is really the way it should be leveraged. Overcoming writer's block is huge too. I do some creative writing. I know lots of other people like to be creative, or sometimes that writer's block is from a marketing standpoint. You ask it for specific prompts, and it gives you content that may not necessarily be the content you want to use. You might look at it and say, that's not really necessarily for me, but it gets those juices flowing. It gets your brain moving, and it gets you moving forward. And you can also take your content and you can ask it to show examples of writing it in new styles. Maybe maybe you're a little bit too wordy. Maybe you're talking at a high level, or you're very industry specific and you need to bring it down to more layman's terms. You can drop your content in and ask one of these AI tools to redraft your content, at an eighth grade reading level, and it will sift through all that stuff and try to give a new way for your content to be put out there. Or maybe you're presenting at a pirate convention and you want everything to be written like a pirate. You can ask it to do that too. That's always the fun go-to. So in that toolbox, that the most common things that people are leveraging these platforms for and how they can help your business is certainly with blog generation. Your business, what you need to write about, what topics you want to discuss, and um, it's a lot to draft 400, 800 words of SEO structured content. Well, the AI tools can understand that structure and can give you all those first steps. You tell it, I want you to write about this. I want it to focus on these things, and I want it to be written in this way. Boom, boom, boom. It'll start spitting out a draft for you to edit without you having to have spent 20, 30 minutes concepting and researching a lot of that content. Coming up with scripts, whether that's cold call scripts or sales scripts or presentation scripts, whatever, that you can go to that as a way to kind of get that ball rolling, get it started, to refine, to give you some new ideas. Your marketing content, other things that you want to put. So this could be social media content, website content, written content for print pieces. Outlines, so outlines and presentations. So I'll kind of tie these two things together. I'm not going to lie, for this presentation, I leveraged one of these tools and said, I want to do a talk on this topic, on the topic of AI and bringing AI to these small business owners. And it helped me by giving me an initial sort of outline draft to say, like, okay, yeah, I do want to talk about that. This is a great structure. I don't have to think about basics, like what should the structure of my presentation be? This is the kind of content. So now I can work with it to develop it to be exactly the way I want it to, and it's happening in a much more compressed timeline. As well as coming up with ideas, what creative ideas or functional ideas, asking it questions. How do I solve this problem? How do I generate this? And it will give you those ideas to use as a starting point. And of course, phrasing. One of the most fun things I was doing the other day was just saying, like, struggling creatively with coming up with metaphors for a certain situation. I'm just like, what are some metaphors for this? And it would spit out a list of all these beautiful metaphors and different sort of categories of metaphors that they all fall into. And so it really got me going down that path. And I could either pick one and say, that's a beautiful metaphor, I'm going to run with that one. Or again, it just kind of got your juices going. And so you can start to use it as a launching off point to get to your finished product more quickly. So what the workflow should look like for you when you're employing these services, when you're employing the AI chatbot to help you with this marketing and this content stuff, is you first want to use it for brainstorming and research, right? Asking it questions, throwing your ideas out there, getting that sort of structure laid down. Then you're going to move into where you're sort of drafting and editing your content, and you can leverage the system to help you create those things. And then from that refined content, you can pull things out and ask it. Once you have that summary content, or once you have that primary content, you can ask it for things like, well, I need bite-sized pieces of that content for these other platforms, and it will break it up for you, and it'll put those little pieces together. You can ask it for help identifying keywords. You can ask it for help with that content generating posts for social media platforms. And you can also take content that you've written, or content that you started on an AI chatbot and then modified, and drop it back in and have it provide editing. And it'll come back and it'll tell you what suggested changes it has, how it might change the tone. And it's leveraging a lot of data, a lot of other content that has been created to understand what best practices are and kind of give you examples of how to employ them. The nice thing about it, all this stuff, is that you don't have to do anything that it tells you to, but it gives you lots of great tips for you to act on. So now we're going to get to sort of a walkthrough of what that looks like. But one of the key things I want to stress, because I haven't explicitly said it, if you haven't picked up on this already, is that you really need to treat AI as a tool and not as a contractor, right? So it's not somebody else to do the job. It is a tool that makes your job more efficient. Photography, you used to have very complex cameras with very complex systems and chemicals and chemical reactions on film. And there was a very delicate process involved, lots of specialization, high cost. Every shot was a risk. You needed to know every little intricacy. And now it's boom, it's in the palm of our hand, some of the best point and shoot camera technology, and it handles all this stuff for you, and your shots happen like that. And now we're inundated with photos, right? So same kind of thing. This is helping us to generate and be more productive, more efficiently, but it's not a replacement. There's a lot of dangers that come with that. So let's go to this walkthrough. A business. So as a walkthrough, we're going to kind of talk through what it might be like to use an AI chatbot for developing a business plan, right? Whether this is you want to develop a new business plan, or my recommendation would be you should do this exercise on your existing business plan, so that you can modify it, and you can um, uh, see how to improve your business going forward, right? So you want to get back on track. You want to make sure that you're well organized. Maybe your small business, you've been kind of shooting it from the hip all along. Maybe your business plan was only 2 pages long when you first did it, and it's just a bunch of general ideas, and you need to formalize it. You need to create processes. You need to understand why you're doing it and how you're going to get to the next step. This is why we're going to do this process for new businesses or your existing business. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do, somehow I clicked out, there you go. Very first thing you're going to want to do is you want to know the process that you're getting into. So the process of drafting that business plan. What are the steps? What's the content you're going to need to create? So you start with a framework, right? So what that might look like is going to the SBA.gov website and getting that framework, or maybe working with your local representative from your Chamber of Commerce, your County Economic Development Department, a nonprofit organization like America's SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center, any of those things. And they're going to give you sort of like, hey, this is where you begin. This is where you should start. This is a framework. This is an outline of what a good business plan looks like, right? And the reason why you want to start outside the system is because you can't, just like with all these other things, you cannot fully rely on the responses that these AI tools give you. And that's key. That's why this whole time, why I stress this is a tool and not a contractor. Because if you rely 100% on it to give you the right answers, it's not. There are, and they're insidious. They sneak in there. Little things that are inaccurate or false or fabricated can sneak into your content, and you don't know. It's hard for you to tell what is good information and what is that sort of like that generated information, or that false information, or that outdated information. You don't know. And so certain things you're going to need to rely on. And you're also going to see a lot of me telling you, whatever you're doing with your AI tool, all that time you're saving, you're going to want to take a little bit of it back, and you're going to want to put it towards validating whatever you're using that tool for. So while it may not be as perfectly streamlined as you would love it to be, you're still going to shave hours off of your time on creating these things. So what that looks like now is, for that business plan document, you're always going to start with that initial summary paragraph, right? That this is the content that outlines your business as best you can. And you do want to draft that. You don't want to go to the AI chatbot yet. You want to give it your first best pass and just throw everything that stream of consciousness, into a paragraph. This is what my business is. This is what I want my business to be, and kind of throw that all in there. Then you're going to take that summary paragraph and you're going to give it to the AI chatbot, whether it's Bard at bard.google.com, or it's ChatGPT at open.ai.com, I think is what it is. They both kind of provide the same services, and they do it in a little bit of a different way. But then you're going to provide that summary paragraph, and you're going to ask that AI to review it as a paragraph for your business plan.
Your camera's on.
My camera's off.
They can see your shared screen, but not you.
Oh, um, my camera is not off. I don't know why they can see my shared screen, but not me. I can see me.
I can see you, Rich. Whoever's not being able to see, you might want to take a look at your view
Yeah,
and make sure that you
yeah.
have that showing.
Okay, sorry. Thanks. I was getting a notification from the crew here. Um, so we want to explain who you're sharing your business plan with. So I'm sorry. So let me get back on track. So you're asking the AI to review your summary paragraph for your business plan. Now, when you're asking it to review that summary paragraph, you don't just drop it in and say, "Hey, review this paragraph." You're dropping that paragraph in, but you're also saying, "This is my summary paragraph. This is who the business plan is for," right? So is your business plan document going to be for the general public, for, I don't know if it's for the general public, but for marketing purposes? Or is it going to be to secure a loan? Or is it going to be to try to get a business partner? Or whatever it is, you want to explain to the chatbot why it is you're creating this document, what its intended goal is, because there's context behind that summary paragraph. And you want to explain what you want that summary paragraph to accomplish. Um, that's not just like this is information about. Make sure that it knows this is a summary of a larger piece, and it's the lead into this business plan document. Again, because the tool will use that as context to give you grammatical and structural recommendations. And then what it's going to do is they're going to kick back to you, and they're going to tell you, probably, if it's anything like my experience, it's going to tell you a bunch of things that it says, hey, you're doing all a bunch of these things right. This is great. Do those things. But here's some other things that we've identified that maybe you should consider adding, right? So where's this information? Where's that information? Hold on one second. Um, so I'm sorry. Hold on for one second. They'll just have to wait. I'll be out in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Review each section of your business plan document and draft it as much as you can. So just like with that summary piece, you're going to draft your initial piece, and then you're going to chunk it down, or submit it just like that same process with the summary paragraph. Put it in the system, explain what it is that you're trying to do, and then iterate off of that. You're going to ask that AI to review each one of those sections individually, and you're going to iterate that content until you're satisfied, until you have something that you think is really good. The next part of that, though, hold on a second, before I get to that, after you've got it to a place where you're really satisfied with stuff, you are going to want to have other human people review that content and identify, what they're gonna do with that, and how they're gonna what kind of feedback they can give there, how we can change that. So for your financials and market research questions, so now we're kind of getting past this part where it's providing creative content, feedback and stuff like that. And now we're getting into some more technical stuff. So this is now you're asking it for very specific questions. And this is where it gets dangerous, because the part above is it's being reactive to information you're giving it and asking it how it's structured, to talk about how it's structured and how things are done there. But for the financials or market research questions, you're going to be asking it for specific data, and it's leveraging the information and stuff that it either has in its system or that it's pulling off of the internet live. So this is going to be the difference too between leveraging a platform like ChatGPT versus Bard. ChatGPT might have some older data in there. It's got a lot of older data in there. And it's a strong tool responding to that stuff. But Bard is going to be putting some of the full power of Google behind it, and we might give you a little bit more live up-to-date data. So that might be one of the considerations you want to think about when you're thinking about what platform. So you start by asking that AI to estimate values and or market research. Explain what it is that you're looking for, the exact kind of data. Explain the criteria. This is, what's the audience profile for this in this geographical area. These are the people that I'm trying to contact. Like, what's the best way to get in touch with them? How are these people responding to the market? And they're going to provide some of that direction, and it's going to be It will be vague. And because there's multiple resources, it's not come from a single resource, you'll usually get a range. So it's probably not going to spit exact numbers at you. And you should use this as a prompt to get a general understanding of where your numbers are and where your expectations are, but have a little asterisk next to it to say, I need to go do more research because the AI tool is not going to be able to provide that level of specific accurate data for you. You can't rely on it to be your librarian. You got to go do the groundwork on some of those hard numbers. Well, there you go. So I already preempted my own next bullet. Earmark that data, follow it up with your own research, and make sure you verify any of the data and stuff that you used. So then you might want to be asking as part of your business plan for creative or branding solutions. You know, part of any business plan document is understanding your business, your company's values, your mission and vision statement. And you can work with the AI tool to develop those things to get some of those answers, but only after you've gone through this list and you've kind of already provided it with these details. The beautiful thing about these systems is that it logs a whole entire conversation. So as you ask it things and give it information, it looks back at the conversation and knows like, okay, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this business that does XYZ, you know, like whatever, we're opening up a waffle shop. We know that it's a waffle shop and it's in this area, and these are the people he's trying to talk to, and this is, you know, he's already established that this is the values and stuff. So what would that mission statement be? And sometimes if it gets tripped up because you might have asked it a lot of similar questions, or you might be referencing something and it doesn't quite know how to self-reference itself, it will ask you for clarification, or it'll let you know if it lacks the clarification that it needs. But just give it that clarifying data. I certainly have had to get data from it that you know, some of it I leveraged the whole entire section. And when I asked it about it later, it couldn't quite remember. So I had to go copy that same content that it gave me and drop it back in and say, I really liked this, and this is what I'm talking about. How does that impact, you know, this vision or this mission statement that we're putting together? And then it'll spit out those iterations. So you're gonna repeat that. You are gonna, like I was just saying, you're gonna need to probably repeat some of that final data when you ask these questions. You're gonna need to go pull some of that stuff. And if you ask any creative solutions that are intended to be, so this is very, very important, especially when you're dealing with branding and unique things and creativity. If you ask for any creative solutions that are intended to be unique, you absolutely gotta do your due diligence and double check yourself for any potential copyright infringements, because these systems 100% are pulling their creative recommendations from other places. So that's why I really like using it for brainstorming, to break writer's block or creative block, but not using it wholesale for creative ideas. So I was working on something the other day. I asked it for, you know, some examples, some potential branding or names on a certain topic, and it gave me a massive list. And I thought a lot of them sounded great. And so I immediately started picking out some of the ones I thought were interesting. And I was like, oh, well, how's this? And I go check online. Nope, there's definitely other things named that. So it's pulling some stuff direct. Not everything that it creates is necessarily going to be truly unique or, you know, all of a sudden created. It might be wholesale pulled from someone else. So if you're doing anything where there's a copyright or creative ownership element to it, you gotta double check anything the AI tool generates for you. And always follow up your plan or content with professional peer review for accuracy. So that's sort of like the whole business plan thing. And I just want to stress here at the end, remember, AI is a tool. AI is not a contractor. Okay, so you want to leverage it as a tool and not as a replacement. And now I want to open up for questions.
I had to remember to unmute myself. Well, Rich, that was amazing. That gave us so much overview and tools within the tool that we can use. And if you have any questions, please send them to Rich. I would like to ask, how do you check if something is copywritten already?
Like if it's wholesale pulling the whole copy.
Yeah, so you said that you used this tool, but then you went to go check to make sure that you actually could use it, that it wasn't
Right.
copywritten. Like, how did you
Yeah.
do that?
So there was a business and they were looking for name concepts and so I did a search. I was using the AI tool to help me get my brain going and to generate some ideas to help spur me along. And there was one I was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder if that's already taken. And all I did was just jump over to Google, which is funny because I was already using Bard. I jumped over to Google and searched for that name and just to see kind of what comes up. And with a bunch of things come up and there are already existing businesses and especially businesses in the same industry, which is likely if you're because it generated those names based on the industry or whatever you're looking at, you're going to get a solution that it has a high likelihood of being pulled from something already existing. So my preliminary thing, the first thing I do is I do a search. Beyond that, if I don't feel like the search came back with anything and I felt very secure, I do highly, highly, highly recommend engaging with a copyright lawyer. And I have a fantastic copyright lawyer that I would love to refer to anybody. So if anybody has that question, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect you with a great copyright lawyer. And they'll start by doing a little of that extra due diligence to check to see how available whatever that branding is that you wanted to do is, if it's a branding thing. Um, was that kind of answer your question,
Yeah,
Kimberly?
I think that's great. Thank you. Just we just want to make sure we cross all our T's, right, and dot all our I's. Another question is, what do you see AI not good for? Like you had said, you need to make sure that, you start with your own thoughts and words, and it can help to emphasize or help to grow those thoughts. But what do you think that people shouldn't be using it for, like, at all?
So I'll give a great example. I used it the other day to help me because I run my community's local lacrosse program, and we were doing a coaches clinic, and I asked it to draft a plan for the clinic I was going to run to use as a launching off point. And this was a clinic exclusively for girls lacrosse. And wouldn't you know it, like buried in that document, there was lots of information that it was telling me very factually that this is tell them about this and tell them about that. That was exclusive to boys lacrosse. It was like it had zero, it was not applicable to girls lacrosse. And if I didn't know girls lacrosse, I would have foolishly gone forward and said, like, and started talking about something that's not true. So don't it's not gonna cover you to talk about something you don't understand. You have to understand the topics that you're using the AI for to know when it's wrong. So that's when you shouldn't use it. You shouldn't use it to be a contractor to do the work for you. You should use it to get your work started, to help you get out of a writer's block, to push your ideas, to give you that flexibility, but not as a replacement.
That's excellent words to end on, I believe. So everyone, this recording will be shown in our YouTube channel for the Northwest Chamber of Commerce here in the Owings Mills area. And I am going to make sure that Rich's and Trembling Giants information is in there. So if you want that copyright lawyer information, you can reach out to Rich. And please do feel free to take that information and try to reach out to Trembling Giant for any branding, website, social, any digital, as well as print. They have an amazing, if you're in the Carroll County, Howard County, a little bit of Baltimore County, they have an amazing print program for you that goes to a lot of households. So reach out to Rich. He'll explain all that better than I just did. And we do appreciate your time today, Rich. And thank you for being our presenter this month.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay.